The Anaheim Ducks have another Olympic athlete gracing their roster. Let's get into it on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayer. I'm your host, Kyle Carr. Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And if you're a new listener, I'm a longtime Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey. But here every day on Locked On Ducks, we're talking about the NHL Anaheim Ducks, who have been gracing the headlines with a nice win streak, but they are now preparing to take on the Colorado Avalanche, the #1 team in the league, the absolute juggernaut of the league. And the Ducks end up heading into this game, which we'll talk about later, but they're entering this game with a new standard. At least that's what they said. They've set a new standard. We'll get into what that means and everything as well later. But first, let's get into Jackson LaCombe. That's right, Jackson LaCombe gets added to the Olympic roster for Team USA, announced this morning. He said didn't even have a phone call prior to this, didn't have any information, hadn't talked to the USA team since the development camp at the beginning of the season, and was sitting it with silence, and all of a sudden gets the call that he is replacing Seth Jones, who is out for injury. And so now Jackson LaCombe is going to be a defenseman for the Team USA Olympic roster, which is awesome, not only for Jackson LaCombe, but also for the Ducks to just have another player go out there and compete in the best on best. It just helps bring back that confidence, bring back good habits, getting these guys just exposed to those top talents out there in the league, and especially Team USA. There's so many great players on the USA roster that Jackson LaCombe's going to get to go rub elbows with. They have him slated in as a 7th D man right now, but you never know how things go with injuries and with just the tournament, everything like that. And you know LaCombe's going to give you some reliable hockey, especially in a tournament type setting. And the way that Jackson started this season, I think, is why the call wasn't made earlier in the year and why he wasn't on the initial roster. I mean, I wasn't really expecting him to crack the roster initially regardless, but if he had had a much more stellar performance and not as up and down start to this year, I think we would have seen him be a little bit more talked about in regards to making that first initial roster. And now with people out there from other teams that don't really watch Ducks games, you're getting a lot of hate from people saying who, like, why, and the argument of having Lane Hutson on Team USA is a very valid one out there. Yes, I'll give you that. However, this team, there is a little bit of bias towards players that go to Worlds and play for USA, and LaCombe has done that. Hutson did not. And there's this kind of boys club amongst the national development team. And I think Hudson's definitely a great player. He's crazy. The things he's doing out there in Montreal are absurd. The things he can do on his skates are absurd. And he's a really quick, really smart, great player, obviously getting the Calder last year. However, I don't think that's what Team USA is necessarily looking for in this roster. They're going more for the big size guys, the guys that are more shut down, angle off type players. You know, Hudson's going to outskate you, but in a physical competition against some of those big guys, like Canada's going to have like Tom Wilson, I'm not really seeing Lane Hutson having a chance in a quick tournament like that. And that's, I think, where Team USA was looking at it as well. And that's why they went with Jackson LaCombe. And he was, I mean, already on that pre-season. He went to the kind of like orientation, and that's the last time LaCombe heard from Team USA, where Hutson wasn't even included in that. So that already off the bat put LaCombe above and probably the next selection. And the team's just looking at how LaCombe's been playing as of late. and they must be impressed, because I definitely have been very, very impressed with how LaCombe has been playing ever since the Buffalo game on January 10th. It's like all of a sudden a switch was flipped, and he's just like in this whole new look, Jackson LaCombe, defensive stallion, and helping out on the offense as well. It's like he just reawoke the player that we saw last year, and it's finally all coming together for him. Before the Buffalo game on January 10th, LaCombe had not been in the plus side of the plus minus column since Columbus on December 16th. That's exactly 10 games. He was either 0 or -1, -2. I think he was -4 on one game. Not looking that great. But ever since Buffalo, he's been tearing it up. He's had a point in every single game since Buffalo. He's been either +1 or +2 in every game since Buffalo. And looking at just the last 8 games, he has 8 points in the last 8 games, 8 in the last 9 games, 8 points in the last 10 games as well. He kind of had 2 games where he didn't have points, but 8 in the last 8 games. And his defense has really stepped up. I think you're seeing a lot more tighter and a lot more, defensive minded Jackson LaCombe. He seems to be getting the physicality up a little bit more. He in the New York Rangers game, LaCombe prevents the Rangers from tying the game with a perfect stick check right at the last second, gets the stick on puck, completely denies the chance. And there were other opportunities throughout that game as well. He's just been getting a lot more aggressive with his angling of taking guys off the puck and stripping them. I think he's been making a little bit more heads up plays on the breakouts. And it's not just LaCombe as well. I think the entire team has really stepped up and put more emphasis on the defensive mindset, and that's honestly helped out LaCombe's game and Dostal's game. But to kind of go back more to that defensive structure, I mean, I had someone even mention this with LaCombe at the beginning of the year, and looking at the new coach, that LaCombe's year last year and how good it was could have been because of the type of play that Greg Cronin was having the team play. And he does well when it is more of a shutdown style, where it's the whole team is kind of more on a shutdown, and then he gets a little looser on the offense. It's kind of this weird oxymoron with him. And now that the Ducks are playing a little bit more shutdown type defense as a team, you can see he is starting to take off as well, and he's starting to have success and looking a lot better. So this guy thrives when there's a little bit more emphasis on the defense and breaking the puck out from that back end. And LaCombe right now, 49 games played, 6 goals, 25 assists, 31 points total, -2 on the season. But that's been definitely being chipped at with the last few games. It was a much, much lower. It was like, I think he was at -6 or 7 about a few games ago. So that's definitely coming up. 10 penalty minutes for LaCombe, not too bad. And again, he's not one of the most physical guys out there. He's not going to go rip guys into the boards. He's not going to be crushing guys into the rafters. He's much more of an angle and speed type guy. He uses that speed and his his knowledge of where everyone is and his whereabouts on the ice, and just like his ability to just have that hockey IQ is really what drives his game. And he's gonna be taking guys off, and he's one of those guys that just kind of comes out of nowhere. He just appears, and all of a sudden he's stripping the puck off the guy. Just the most calm looking person the whole game, doesn't really seem to get frazzled, and he doesn't really make those aggravated, chippy behind the play type cheap moves or anything like that. He's just very locked in, very solid guy. And we've seen this LaCombe that we were looking to see this year is finally, I think, cracking through. It's finally coming up. And does this make it worth the $9 million that he's going to be getting paid next year? Do I agree with it still? I don't think it's time to fully say yes or no. I'm still up in the air on whether or not that $9 million is going to be the right amount. I still think it was a little early and it was kind of on a whim, and they could have come in maybe a little bit lower with the up and down that we saw this year. Now it's stepping up. So honestly, we got to see how the rest of the year goes. There's still a huge chunk of change. Now that he's got the call that he's accepted, how does he take that moving forward? Does his game improve? Does he keep stepping up? There's still a lot of runway left to really determine, was the $9 million worth it? And I think at the end of this season, we'll definitely have a very good understanding on whether or not at least for me, whether or not LaCombe was $9 million worthy or not. And again, that price tag doesn't start till next year. So if he has a very stellar second half of this season, and we see the domination of LaCombe, then absolutely worth it. If we see a lot of the same stuff that we saw at the beginning of this year, I'm going to have to go with a no. But that's not just LaCombe that needs to be stepping up and locking down and continuing this type of play. The entire team has been stating that they've set a new standard and they've been playing defensively. And we'll get into just how much that can hold up coming up next. There is nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets. Long queues, endless screens, and prices changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I pulled the Game Time app to check out the New York Rangers game on Monday. That's how I got my tickets for me and my son. The prices had dropped extremely, extremely low, and I got some great seats. Got to check out the Game Time. I got to see what the view was going to look like. I got to know the price ahead of time. All of it was right there. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Now, I do want to say thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to ad-free listening. You get introduced to the Discord server. And this isn't just an Anaheim Ducks Discord server. This is nationwide Locked On Discord server. So make sure you go in there, get it going. You have all of the Locked On content you could ask for at lockedonanaheimducks.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Go join the Everydayer Club today. Now, speaking of everydayers, the Anaheim Ducks have a lot of work that they have been working on every single day this last couple of weeks, and they're stating that they have a whole new standard. They're setting a standard for themselves, and that's what they did the last few games, and they need to hold up to that standard, and they look to carry that forward throughout this road trip. I want to believe the guys. I want to see this level of play be consistent. I want to see the same stuff that I've been seeing out of this Ducks team with their defense and with the offense, and just the more ability to play a lockdown and physical type style of play, while also maintaining a fast and speed type play as well. I know it sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds like, wait, how do you have a lockdown style of game, but also with speed? And I think you heard it from Cutter Gauthier's best. And when he was describing what he wants to take forward into this next road trip, and especially starting with Colorado, he said that the big thing he wants to take forward is discipline. He said this is directly from Cutter Gauthier. He said, discipline. I think discipline and play a strong and consistent defensive game. And when we play more the defensive side of the game, I feel like more opportunities are handed to us. The more we can keep that going and frustrate teams, it's going to be better for us. And so you're sitting there hearing like the forwards have recognized that when they play a little bit more structured, consistent defensive game, they're actually getting more out of that. And it's resulting in more offensive opportunities, a lot quicker transitions out of the zone, a lot quicker transitions through the neutral zone, and a lot quicker entrances into the offensive zone. And it all stems from a stronger defensive, supportive type play. And that's what we've been seeing out of this team. I think towards that end of that road skid and in the middle of it when it was really, really bad, you saw a lot of frustration out of this team because they were trying to exit the zone too quick. They're fumbling the puck on offense and there's no one there to support. And so all of a sudden the puck's just sitting there wide open for the other team to take away. And they got tired of it. It just got old. They were getting tired of themselves making the mistakes, tired of losing. It all caught up with this team. And now they're setting this new standard. They're setting this standard of discipline, not just like the, don't take penalties type discipline. This is like actual full on 60-minute discipline where the back check is there, the forecheck is there, the support when the defenseman engages, the forward staying back, all of those basic little needy things that I've been talking about that I keep harping on, the brilliance in the basics. That's what this team needs to focus on. And now that's where they're at. And that's the place that they have been working on. And it's starting to pay dividends. It's crazy how when you just focus on doing consistently right things and working it the way that you're supposed to, doing your role can totally pay off. Even Coach Quenneville post New York Rangers game, he stated that he wants the guys to be excited to play on any line that they are put on, and they have a role to play. And that if everyone does their role, it's going to work out, and they're going to have success. And that was kind of in regards to them asking, like, "Hey, we noticed, Cutter Gauthier's down in playing quote unquote bottom 6 minutes." But Quenneville saying like, look, he's planning to roll all 4 lines. He wants all 4 lines rolling. He wants everyone to just be excited to be out there playing. No matter what line they're on, they can be that line that can make the difference. He's like, that's what makes championship teams is when every single player is just stoked to be on the line that they're on. They're stoked to go out there and play hard for the team, and they're willing and able to do their role. And when you have that mentality, when everyone's pulling the chain the same direction, everyone's going to be hopping on, and you're going to get more equal minutes through that because all 4 lines are going to be rolling. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fast, 35-second, 45-second shifts, bing, bang, boom. So that ice time is going to be a lot more distributed, and you can kind of just roll teams differently. If they're trying to adjust to, 1, 2, 3, 4, all of a sudden you go 3, 2, 1, 4, or whatever it is, and you mix up the lines. That gives the team so much more to work with. And that's what Coach Q is trying to get is a lot more excitement out of the guys, enjoyment to show up to the rink and play, and to get more just consistent chemistry throughout the entire team. And again, that goes back to brilliance in the basics. If you have the framework, you have the standard, you have A, B, C, D, and E, this is the steps, this is what we need done, then everyone's going to be on the same page. Everyone's going to be pulling that same direction. And it just makes things a lot easier. I can take it back to when I was in the Marine Corps. If you have a platoon of guys that have all trained in different units and you put them together, things are going to go wrong because there's a million ways to do the same task. But if you get the guys training together and you put them through the same rigorous test, the same rigorous training, you teach them every single step, break it down step by step, day by day. This is how things are going to be done, that everyone flows, everything gets together, and then you can put any single guy with any other person, and they're going to do the right thing. And that's what this team is starting to try to do with their hockey, is get everyone doing the right thing the same way, the same thing that they need to do so that this team can have success. And that's going to be massively, massively challenged starting with the Avalanche game coming up. You see Coach Quenneville, he recognizes that they have this momentum. He wants to take this momentum forward. They've been playing the way that they want to play, and they got to make sure that they take that as well. The momentum, enforcing the way that they want the game to be played, and putting that on their opponents. And he recognized that this team is going to be tested against the Avalanche. He said this is a very fast, very skilled, very challenging team, and the guys are going to have to be playing a near perfect game and continue to play the way that they have been playing to be effective in this game. So huge ask for this team going into Colorado and stepping into this road trip. But the framework has been set. These guys have gone through the rush of the beginning of the season and how exciting that was. They kind of got the young excitement, willies out of their way. Then they got the bow humdrum of that losing skid and saw how negative things can get. And now they're coming up and they're on this 4-game win streak, and they're starting to feel how things can go when they play well and they play a good, solid, structured, disciplined type game. And that's what they need to take forward. Right now, the roster, not really the most skillful players, with guys being out with injury, but Quenneville's adjusted the roster to have this big body types roster right now, with guys like Tim Washi coming up and Tim Moore playing as a forward. And then now the addition of Viel and bringing Cutter down to that third line with Pelling, Viel, and Gauthier. And then you've got the top line where we got McTavish up there with these guys, Ryan Strome, and players that know how to score and play these top minutes. So it's really helped spread out this experience on the roster. And I think it's just allowing this team to generate more of an identity and really recognize what recipe they want to have success and what it's going to take. And now it's going for this team. I think they have every opportunity in front of them to have a successful road trip, and the guys are saying all the right words. They all of them have been mentioning defense, and discipline. They're all on the same page right now. You can just sense it and you can feel it. Now they're heading over to Colorado. They got to take this up, and we'll get into just what to expect with the Avalanche next. So now the Ducks are off to take what I'm calling the midterm of this season. It's been a minute since they've played the Colorado Avalanche. A lot of things have happened to both teams. Colorado, though, continues to just be the juggernaut of this league. And now the Ducks are here basically just around the middle point of the season, going off to play the Colorado Avalanche for the last time this season in Colorado. They do have one more game against them in Anaheim, but this is the last time this season that they're going to be playing up there in Denver. And it's going to be a big test, a big test. That's why I'm saying this is like the midterm for them. This is going to be the measuring stick for this team. The last time the Anaheim Ducks headed up to Colorado was November 11th. That's 11-11. And there were absolutely no wishes that came true for the Ducks faithful that game. That game, the Ducks were on a 7-game win streak, looking to make it 8. We're trying to get to those double digits of a win streak. But that game, unfortunately, they walked away licking their wounds with a 4-1 loss to the Avs. And it was one of those games where just the Ducks could not get anything going for scoring. They just got shut down on everything. It was like they had their brand of hockey that was looking fun and having a great time, and then Big Daddy Avalanche just said, nope, that's not how things work. We'll show you how things work. And they did. But now the Ducks are headed to Colorado on a 4-game win streak. So 7-game win streak last time, 4-game win streak this time. and they're looking to start another road trip off right again. Last time they were starting a road trip, this time they're starting a road trip. And it's just like, what? Like, come on. Yeah, just the worst way to start a nice road trip, going up to the beautiful mountains of Colorado and where the air is thinner and it's nice and crisp and cool. And then you got to take on the juggernaut of the Colorado Avalanche, who have just been running through all of the teams right now, just decimating this league. Currently, the Avalanche have 47 games played, 34 wins, only 5 regulation losses, and 8 overtime losses for a total of 76 points. They are well and above every other team. I think the closest other team is in the 60s points wise. They are tearing through this league. Right now, though, interesting with how well this team has been doing, they currently have the 24th best power play in the league. So all of their scoring has just been 5-on-5. They dominate 5-on-5 regulation play, not so much on the power play, only clicking at 16.7%. However, on the other end of special teams, their PK, the best in the league. They are solid. It also helps that they have fantastic goaltending, but their PK right now is clicking at 84.8%. I think the league average is like 74%. 10% better than the rest of the league. Absolutely absurd. They also take the most shots per game in on average. So 34.74 shots on average for this team per game. Like absurd. 34.74 shots. They are going to come in hard. They're going to come in fast, and they got tons of ammunition. They are going to light up this team. It's going to be up to Dostal to be on his best, and also for that defensive standard that the boys have set. That's what they keep talking about. Well, this is going to be the test right now, because if they can lock things down defensively, they're going to have a lot easier of a chance of coming away with the W. And I say a lot easier, but it's not going to be easy either way. It's going to be a lot easier if they can shut things down, but this game is not going to be easy because we've seen what happens when this team cannot score and when the goaltender against them is locked in and they're getting goalied and they can't crack through, and this team can leak very, very badly. And with the Colorado Avalanche, scoring is not going to be an easy task for this team. They have the Avalanche have the best combined save percentage in the league at 0.915%. Looking at the goaltenders, Scott Wedgwood, 29 games played, 29 games started, 20 wins, 3 losses. Sorry, 20 wins, 3 losses, 4 overtime losses with a 917 save percentage, 2.19 goals against average. That's Scott Wedgwood. Well, what about Mackenzie Blackwood? Oh, well, he has 17 games played, 15 games started, 13 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime loss with a 917 save percentage and a 2.26 goals against average. So if that's not impressive, well, they brought in a third goaltender who came up, Trent Miner, 4 games played, 3 games started, 1 win, 0 losses, 3 overtime losses, a 923 save percentage, and a 2.03 goals against average. This team has goaltending locked on. Like, absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd what these guys have been doing. And they are a huge part of why this team has been successful. Obviously, Nathan McKinnon going on another tear this year, but the goaltending has been the biggest difference for the Colorado Avalanche this year. It's just not even fair. And like I said before, we've seen what this team does when they get goalied. They start to get lit up, and it's like the frustration takes over because they can't crack, and then they lose focus on defense. So now we got to see what that new defensive standard is going to look like against this team. And I think they can do it. You know, they have to keep an even keel. They got to create as many high danger chances as possible. They got to play smart, and they've got to lock down that defense. Right now, the Ducks are still out with some players on injury. Troy Terry, upper body, not joining the road trip. Hopefully he'll come in later and meet them out on the road. Probably letting him, rehab at home, stay with the family. Leo Carlson, still with that thigh issue, out. Frank Vetrano, shoulder injury, and Peter Mrazek with that lower body. However, the Avalanche do have some injuries themselves. So kind of a saving grace, if you will, that they're also out with some injuries. They have Joel Kiviranta is out with the lower body injury. Logan O'Connor is out with the hip injury. Devon Taves is out with an upper body injury. And Gabriel Landeskog is out with an upper body injury as well. So the Ducks here, they need to bring their A game and continue to roll that aggressive forecheck and bang the bodies. The way that, if you look at Ryan Pelling and Jeffrey Viel and Cutter Gauthier's forecheck against New York, especially what led to Viel's goal, insane. These guys are playing so well on the forecheck. And again, that all stems from that strong defensive play that Cutter Gauthier was talking about, that Joel Quenneville mentioned, that Alex Killorn has been talking about, that, that Pavel Mintyukov's mentioned, Jackson LaCombe. Every single player has been talking about a new structure of defense, a new standard of defense, and that they have recognized that they need to play from that back end and build up forward. And again, that's what I had the feeling that Quenneville was going to get these guys locked in and he's going to get these guys clicking. He's a defensive coach. You always hear about how he's more of a defensive guy. We weren't seeing it. And I think he kind of wanted them to learn. I think it was one of those things where it's like, you can tell your kid not to touch a hot fire only so many times. And if they go and do it themselves, like, well, you're going to learn. You're going to learn not to touch the hot fire if you do it yourself and burn yourself. But if, you can only say it so many times before they have to learn that lesson themselves. And I think that's what Quenneville did with this team. So looking forward to a good game. We're going to be getting the post-game coverage for the next episode. So thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, and tune in to the next one with that breakdown. Hopefully I can come back with some good news of a win, but expectations are very, very even keel right now. So make sure you subscribe and follow to Locked On Anaheim Ducks so you get all the latest episodes. And you can also find us on social media. You can go to X, you can go to TikTok, you can go to Blue Sky, Instagram, all of that. Look up at LO_Ducks, or just type in Locked On Anaheim Ducks and you will find us pop up. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Anaheim Ducks ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonanaheimducks.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure you make your second listen NHL game night on Locked On NHL. As always, I'm Kyle Carr. Be good out there.